As the 2025 Falkland Islands general election rapidly approaches its endpoint, observations around candidates' views and policy suggestions are certainly ramping up. But what some people may not be aware of is that it is not only locals who are keeping a close eye on how things are unfolding. For the first time, an international team from the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's British Islands and Mediterranean region have landed in the islands and set out the purpose of their visit ahead of polling day.
We seek to have a conversation with people about how an election is, the electoral process and how elections are managed. And we're delighted that we've been invited here to observe this general election. The invitation came from the Governor, and we appreciate the engagement our mission is receiving from all stakeholders. And it's been a real pleasure to have conversations with people throughout the Falklands.
One of the things the team will be doing is assessing how our election lives up to international standards and democratic processes, and providing support where requested. But they stress the mission is not about drawing comparisons between the Falklands and other jurisdictions when it comes to how elections are conducted.
When this mission makes its assessments and issues recommendations to strengthen the process in the Falklands, it will rely solely on international standards and domestic laws as its measuring yardsticks, rather than comparisons with other jurisdictions or even with past elections here in the Falklands.
The team then set out what they will do once the new Legislative Assembly has been elected.
After the polling day, we will coordinate our findings from the meetings and observations on election day and produce 2 documents that we trust that will be beneficial and helpful to the people of the Falkland Islands. Firstly, we will produce a short parliamentary statement of our findings. We will publish this on Thursday, the 11th of December, after the results are announced. This will include some findings and our observations and some initial conclusions. Secondly, within 3 months, we will produce a final report. This will be a longer document, allowing us to reflect and consider our findings from the mission. This may include a number of recommendations, but any recommendations offered are in the spirit of wanting to support and strengthen elections here on the Falkland Islands and to contribute towards democracy overall. It is for the people and the institutions of the Falkland Islands to decide if they wish to take some or all of these recommendations forward.
CPA UK, as part of the wider UK Overseas Territories project, will follow up with various stakeholders in the Falkland Islands to ask and support where possible the implementation or the understanding of the recommendations. We're keen that they're taken in the spirit they were intended, which in writing is not always easy. So we will have follow-up meetings with people to make sure they've been understood and understand whether there is the will to continue with them.
One question the panel were asked was whether their recommendations are made only to strengthen current domestic electoral laws or whether they can suggest new ones to add.
Both, really. Many recommendations that are made in countries are to improve existing legislation, but some of them go beyond and sometimes suggest changes in the legal framework that are not yet there for new legislation to be adopted. So it could be really anything depending on what we think is are the challenges and how they're being responded to in law and in practice.
The team were also asked about the research they do before arriving to observe an election. They said they are sent documents in advance, but also learn a lot from talking to people about how things are done before they set out.
We arrive and we leave, but before we arrive, we've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And when we leave, we will be continuing to pursue those conversations. And whoever wins, whoever is elected next week, we will be meeting them at future events, and we will be continuing and deepening those conversations. In terms of the electoral process, there are things here which I'm really looking forward to understanding in terms of mobile voting, enabling people to participate in an electoral process in a very, very rural environment. Now, there are places elsewhere in the world who can appreciate some of the lessons learned from that. So what we seek to do is observe, report, and then pursue a conversation. And that conversation, as I say, is a two-way process, isn't it? There are things that we can all learn from each other.